Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Um, so what inspired adolescence?
Um, there was a couple of incidents in England where young there was a young girl, particularly in a place where I'm from called Liverpool. There was a young girl who was stabbed to death. She was stabbed in the neck, um, and I think she was 13. And there was three lads, and one of them who stabbed her, I think he was 15. Um, and I just thought it was a bit before Christmas, and it hurt my heart, to be honest with you. Do you know what I mean? I just thought, wow, that's a young girl stabbed in the city centre almost. You know, a month or so before Christmas. I don't know the exact dates. And then there was another incident in a place called Leeds where a young trans girl was lured into a park and stabbed to death. And again, it really hurt my heart. And I just thought, what kind of things are happening today where these kind of things are kind of what's going on with society where this is happening and why is this happening? And that's where the kind of thing came from. You know, no, it's not based on any fact or any event that actually happened at all, but it was inspired by those two particular things. I know there's plenty of other incidents that have happened, but for me personally, and my truth and my honesty in my head, those were the two things that kind of were the catalyst. Then I know it's been misconstrued, but there was another incident later on where a young girl was stabbed to death at a bus stop by a young lad. So again, these three incidents, that one happened, you know, after I'd had the idea, but these three kind of incidents were all young men stabbing young girls, irrespective of what color they were. Do you know what I mean? It was not about race. It was just
Yeah.
about the severity of this particular situation. And it wasn't anything else. It was just that. It was young men, young young boys, really, because they're not quite men, are they, at that age? Do you know what I mean? Young boys
Yeah.
stabbing girls. And that was just something I thought would be something interesting to shine a light on and maybe raise some conversation. That's all it was. That's where it came from.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah, those are horrifying stories. And um, yeah, the adolescence is incredible and it's so difficult to watch and it's um it's incredible and I really enjoyed watching it as much as you can enjoy that. So, yeah.
Well, I think as well, yeah, and that you're right. That kind of because I've said when friends have said, you know, it was really good, and I've gone, did you enjoy it? And it's kind of like, was that the right way to say? But in the same respect, you know, it's a drama. It's a piece of drama. It's a piece of it's something that's kind of caught the culture at the time as well. Do you know what I mean? I never
Yeah.
we never intended it to be so successful. We had no idea it would do the kind of viewing figures that it has, but we made it with truth. We made it with honesty. We made it with integrity. You know, and it just shows you, and it's very colloquial because it's like a little fictitious town set up north, the north of England. So it just shows you, you know, you don't always need invasions from another planet or explosions every 5 minutes or car chases all over the place or loads of people shooting each other. You just need a good story with some, you know, I'd like to say hopefully good acting. And with this particular, with the technique of the one shot, we brought in a kind of device which told our story, which captured the audience. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, yeah, what was the biggest challenge in bringing this project to life?
Um, I was very, very, very blessed. I kind of had this idea, and it was really strange. I don't know what it was. I was in a car with my mate Phil, who's the director, and we were chatting, and it just went boom, episode one, two, three, and four. The very, very, very skeleton kind of slight possible outlines for these episodes came to me. And in the same respect, I said, I know exactly who I want to write it. And that was Jack Thorne, who's a wonderful writer. He writes the human condition beautifully. And he also writes the deconstruction of the human condition beautifully. Do you know what I mean? Jack's a master at what he does. So I knew that Jack would be able to pull this frame out of my head and turn it into a wonderful story. Um, and then I also knew, because me and Phil had worked together and we know how the one shot process works, I knew that I needed a really good production company to in England to really kind of work hands on and boots on the ground. So that was Warp Productions. I've known Mark Herbert for a long time now. So Mark and Emily were integral, and so was the whole company at Warp and what they brought to this. This is not possible without Warp Productions, and it's not possible without Matriarch. And that's the other half. My wife, that's Hannah. She was here, and Joe Johnson, who was a series producer who we brought from A Thousand Blows. Hannah and Joe were the glue, so they kind of held it all together. And I knew it would be very difficult technically, but once you have the people that believe in you, and you have the people, you give each other confidence. And then it was just me and Jack pulling this idea, like I said, and writing it and creating these wonderful characters, and doing the research that he did. And we kind of, we bounced ideas from each other. And Hannah was part of that process as well. And then it just kind of took on a life of its own once we had these beautiful scripts. Do you know what I mean? And then the key to anything is the casting. You know, you make or break, as you well know, you make or break a piece with the casting. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Was there an episode that was the most challenging to film?
Um, I think maybe they all had their own individual challenges completely. But for me personally, I'm probably going to say episode four, which because of the movement we had, and there were lots of things within that context which were out of our control. Do you know what I mean? The drive to Braithwaite to the DIY shop, the drive to get there. We couldn't have the traffic lights on hold all the time. So if there was a couple of cars there, then we were kind of stuck. So I'd say logistically that one, but then in the same respects, you know, episode two, the movement of that camera doesn't stop. It goes all through the school, upstairs, downstairs, onto the playground, and then finally at the end gets attached to a drone and then flies up over the whole estate and comes down, and then they have to catch it. So it's a great question. I'm going to swerve the question. Each episode had its own unique kind of difficulties, but because we had such a wonderful crew, such a great crew, every single member of our team was fantastic, and we overcome all of those little things. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. So why was it important to you to bring this subject matter to life?
That's a very good question. I suppose, look, art is subjective, is it not? And we made a piece of drama. Um, there's a great rapper, KRS-One, and he said edutainment. So with entertainment, sometimes you can educate. Um, and with the respect in this, I think when we had a really good conversation about this at the very beginning, myself and Jack and Phil, we kind of asked what our overall objective was, maybe. And our overall objective was to create conversation within families. Because as Eddie says, and a lot of things within what we're trying to bring attention to in our piece is that some children spend a lot of time in their bedrooms today. Do you know what I mean? In my day, we used to be out playing and we'd go to youth centers and we had lots of things to entertain ourselves and fulfill ourselves. But today, no disrespect, they're great as well. But, this has its ups and its downs, doesn't it? It has its pros and its cons. And as much as we feel like we are parenting our children, and as much as we feel like when they go into school, they're being educated by the teachers, within that kind of world, there's also the iPhone is educating and influencing and parenting just as much as we are. So I think if anything, what it's managed to do is made parents aware of the dangers of kind of the possibilities that kids can get influenced by on these phones. Do you know what I mean? And and we were trying not to point the finger at anyone in particular. Obviously, we're going to say there's a few people out there that do this. Of course there are, and that's well known. That's a fact. Do you know what I mean? It's not as if we've made any of that up. So I think it was just trying to create conversations between parents and children, and I hope and I think from the response we've managed to do that.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah. So what did you do to leave the day behind after you were done filming?
Go to gym. I'd go to the gym. There was a really nice little gym near us. And don't forget, because we only did 2 takes a day. So it's an actor's dream. So, you get in there, you go into your makeup and you sit there, you have a shave and get yourself together. Eddie didn't really wear much makeup, so I was all right in that respect. Just had to put suntan lotion on just in case I didn't burn. So you get a shave and that, you'd have a chat with everyone, then you go through it and me and Phil would have a catch up in the morning with Hannah and Joe, and Mark would come often as well, and we'd have a little catch up in the morning, and everyone would get ready, and then you'd go on to set and we do one take. So we'd do a take from I think maybe 10:30 till 11:30, and then we'd stop, reset. Everyone would reset everything, put it, get it ready for the afternoon. Then you do the afternoon, and then so it was really nice. We found a really nice place. And the place where I stayed, me, myself, Hannah, my wife, and Sarah, our first AD, she lived with us as well in this nice house that we found. And Caitlin, my niece, who worked in the production as well, we stayed in this really nice, lovely house. So I'd go as soon as I'd finish work, I'd go to the gym. And the gym had a nice little sauna and stuff like that. So it was nice to escape and relax, do you know what I mean? And I'd do that. I'd go to the gym and then come home. And then we'd all eat together and at the night or we'd go for something to eat. So it was a really lovely atmosphere, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it was nice. We'd watch some telly together and stuff like that. And Phil, our director, and the DOP, Matt, and Phil's brother Alex, they lived in the flat above the house that we had. So we'd all go out for dinners together and we'd do stuff together. Phil and Alex came to the gym once and then never came again. They said they were going to start doing it for ages, but they didn't. They bought all the stuff. They bought all the gear and everything. Oh no, I think they might have went twice. I did one session with them and they were in bits the next day. And then they came a couple of days later, but then they never went again.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Yeah. So I just have one last question for you. I love inspiring and motivational quotes, and this week the one that spoke to me is by Eddie Pinero. And it says, with every ending you didn't think you wanted comes the beginning you didn't know you needed.
Ooh,
It's,
like that.
yeah. Is there a quotation that has inspired you lately?
Um, I would say there's lots. Maybe there's one by Bob Marley. Hang on, let me just. I think there's one by Bob Marley. True friends are like stars. You can only recognize them when it's dark around you.
I love that.
Nice, that one, isn't it?
Yeah.
True friends are like stars. You can only
Yeah.
recognize them when it's dark around you. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that one a lot.
Yeah, I love that one.
I love you
Yeah.
can have that one. I'm not
What?
going to take the credit because it's from Bob Marley, but you can
Oh,
have
oh, thank you.
it.
Yeah. Yeah, I my best friend actually, he watched Adolescence too, and we never watched the same thing. So this was like the one thing that we could talk about that we both saw.
Oh, good. And
So
did he enjoy it? Did he get
yes, yes, he loved it. And so I told him I was interviewing you, and he was very jealous. So,
nice one? What's his name?
so his name is Parker.
Parker.
Yeah.
Okay. Say, hello, Parker.
I will. Thank you. Yeah. Um, and thank you so much for taking the time to answer some of my questions. I had the best time talking with you.
It's a pleasure, man. Thank you very much. Thank
Yeah,
you. It's been an
thank you.
absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. And I hope you have a great rest of your day.
You too.